Thanks for tuning in to High on Horror. I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is dedicated to all the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of the genre and have a good time.
We are back and ready to get back into it. We got some catching up to do like usual. This week we're covering the new Salem's Lot reboot and finally seeing if the long wait was worth it. All that and more today on High on Horror. Interviews, reviews, and the latest news all rolled into one. Did you hear that train?
It's time for Strain Wreck, the segment of our show where we discuss which strain we're getting wrecked on. This week I got us some Cherry Chocolate Widow.
Sounds fucking good.
And reading from Leafly here, wow. I've never seen those like little bars they have calming and energizing.
Yeah.
I have never seen the bar that far over to calming. It's almost like non-existent. Cherry Chocolate Widow is a hybrid weed strain made from a genetic cross between Cherry Chemdog and Pre-95 White Widow. That is an interesting name.
Pre-95 White Widow, okay.
It's 50% sativa, 50% indica. Oh, jeez. That one snuck up on me. That's what she said. Cherry Chocolate Widow is 20% THC, making this strain an ideal choice for experienced cannabis consumers. Why does it always say that? I feel like there's so many that it's like, oh, experienced.
Yeah.
Just smoke that shit.
Just smoke it. You don't become experienced until you smoke it.
Yeah. Get experience like Jimmy. Anyway, it's bred by Grow West Cannabis. The average, I'm not going over the average price. It said, we're still learning about Cherry Chocolate Widow's effects, flavors, and medical uses. If you've smoked, dabbed, or consumed Cherry Chocolate Widow, Leafly would like you to tell them about your experience by leaving a strain review, because there is only 2.
All right, well, let's do it.
So far, it says happy, euphoric, and relaxed. Negatives, It doesn't even have negatives, dog. That's how good it is.
Oh, shit.
Sweet, earthy, and citrus. But two very short reviews. One from February of this year. It says, tastes great. I just smoked a few minutes ago. Bud, I feel nice and relaxed, but not sleepy.
Okay.
And somebody else from October said, very potent, strong buzz. Won't make you feel wide awake, but I recommend for winding down. That I don't even know what that means. It won't make you feel wide awake, but I feel like the but wasn't needed. Like, it doesn't make you feel wide awake. I recommend it for winding down, but they threw in it won't make you feel wide awake, but I recommend for winding down. The but wasn't needed.
So this is why you need to write a review. You need to help Leafly out and put what we say about this, strain on this episode up there for a review.
I should create a Leafly
High on
Horror account and just have us leave our reviews.
You should.
We'll say that and then we'll never do it because we'll get high and just forget. But yeah, that's your 2 reviews on it. So,
well, for starters, let's hit that and say a nice word for the legend Tony Todd, who passed away yesterday on Friday the 8th of November. We're recording on the 9th, and this episode will air on the 11th, so by the time you listeners hear this... I think they just announced
it yesterday, but I think it was earlier than that.
Was it?
Yeah, I'll look it up here real quick.
Well, either way, by the time you listeners hear this, you've already heard the news, but this one is devastating.
The 6th is when he actually passed.
The 6th, okay, so he had passed away the 6th, and the family released the news.
Yeah, okay. yeah, because you had told me the news, and when I looked it up, I noticed yesterday that the actual death date was a couple days ago.
Okay, yeah, see, I didn't actually read the article. I was more just like in pure utter shock. My stomach sank, like I said, when I read the news. He was always the nicest guy. I had the privilege of meeting him 3 times, intentionally and not intentional. He will honestly be dearly missed. I mean, if you haven't yet, you listeners out there need to watch Candyman or something with him in it this week, because artists live on and are immortal through the work that they've left behind for everyone else to experience, whether it's for the 100th time or the first time. It's impossible for someone like Tony Todd to ever really be gone. Shit, I was thinking about hitting the blunt, John, and saying Candyman in the mirror 3 times, as it's like kind of like pouring one for my homies type of thing. But I don't think I'm too chicken to do that type of shit.
I'd do it.
Maybe we'll do it after this episode. Record it as a TikTok.
You never hear from us. Well, I guess this episode will probably never go out.
Fair enough.
I don't think either of our wives are going to upload it for Josh to put out there.
Yeah, right before like police evidence and shit.
They could have solved the crime, but nobody ever listened to our podcast. That makes sense.
And on the upside of things, there's a new Silent Night, Deadly Night remake in the works. I believe they're calling it a reboot. It's slated to hit theaters next year by the end of year. Cineverse, the team behind Terrifier, fresh off of Terrifier 3, have acquired the global rights to Silent Night, Deadly Night. It'll be written and directed by Mike P. Nelson, who was the man behind Wrong Turn and VHS 85. Just what we need, another Christmas slasher film. I love the original movie with a passion, and I love what Cineverse is doing, so I say let's go, baby.
Look, I'm in it until we get to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Oh, God, here we go.
Just so I can get my garbage day.
All right, well...
Oh, yeah. Well, we were talking about this a little bit. There's the Monster Mania convention. Man,
Yeah.
what is up with the prices
Oh,
somebody? Tell me how Eli's broth is charging more than Paul's riser.
Eli's broth. Ew.
I don't know what's worse, that or Paul's riser.
What's Paul Reiser charging?
I think he's like $10 or $20 less than Eli, but I'm just like, because we're talking about this at work, and my coworker was saying Eli Roth was the bigger name, and then when he looked up Paul Reiser, he's like, oh, I didn't know who that was, but yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you go to the average person, you're like, you know who Eli Roth is or Paul Reiser? Especially like Gen X people, they'll definitely know Paul Reiser.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm like, most of the general population is going to know who Paul Reiser is versus Eli Roth.
That's what I would think as well. I don't know, maybe Eli Roth is more relevant now, so maybe that's why,
Yeah.
But no, it's like, the thing that's really getting me is I think they're trying to pull horror, like, away, or genre away from the convention, and make all of these conventions kind of the same, like Comic-Con, because it's like it used to just be a autograph price, a selfie price, and then a combo price. That was it. I remember it was just 3 prices. It was, and then sometimes it was just one. It was just like $20 for both.
For both, or some of them didn't do selfies.
But then you see these big Comic Cons and these private screenings that are happening where all of these celebrities like Mark Hamill are being super finicky and picky, and now it's like it's broken down into so many tiers. Now you don't even know what you're paying for an autograph when you get in line anymore. Like, instead of just knowing, okay, it's $60 for an autograph, $60 for a selfie, or $100 for both. All right, yeah, I'll do. No, instead it's like, shit. They want, if it's a DVD or VHS, it's this price to get it signed. If it's a poster, it's this price to get it signed. If it's an action figure, it's this price to get. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
And
like,
some of it doesn't.
It's so ridiculous.
And some of it doesn't make sense. Like, why are you going to charge me a different amount if you're signing an 8x10 photo or a VHS box? Like, it's still a flat thing you're signing.
Right. And it's like, are they forgetting that people spend money on like these posters that they bring? Like, a lot of people spend good money on these like original one sheet posters that they want to get autographed, and it's like, it's almost like they're being penalized for that, because now it's like, oh, I'm going to charge you extra because that's a poster. Like, what the fuck? I
mean, with like Robert Englund, I spent like $30 on a Dream Warriors poster, and then I had to pay more for that because it was a bigger item.
Yeah, and then there's the whole thing where, on top of, not only does it matter what item you get signed on, what the price is, on what the price varies, but then there's the, what do you want? Do you just want my autograph? Do you want me to write my character name because that's extra? Do you want me to write a quote because that's extra? It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, it should not be that complicated. It is literally like, I'm really starting to feel like cons have really just understood how much they can exploit people at this point, and they're fucking going for it, and people just don't see it, and they're still eating it up, and it's kind of turning me off a little bit.
And the other thing is, I feel like I mean, I guess who am I to say, but I feel like some people think they're on a higher level. Mm-hmm. Like, I get that Robert Englund does that, the level that Robert Englund's at, but then like, you'll have other people that you're like, why are you charging extra? You should be like, okay, I don't want to say, I was going to come out really mean. You should be happy that I'm just coming to see you, but
yeah,
like, I don't get it, man.
Like,
it's getting so expensive, but there's still some like Ty West. Like, I thought that was, he's got the whole X series, and he's got, other than that, how long was it before he really made a movie that people were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, he had House of the Devil and Innkeepers and the Sacrament, and those really kind of got his name out there.
Yeah.
And then and he was tripping on his prices, man. I don't know. I think that the
Alec Baldwin's he's ridiculous. He has a set of quotes that you can pick, and it has to be 8 words or less, and you can ask him, but he gets final approval.
oh my god, the fact that you actually had to sit down and make a list of like what's going to be acceptable to write, like just meet people and hear what they have to say.
And also, like, my thing is, if I'm paying you to put a quote on there, I shouldn't also have to pay you for the character name too.
Right.
I could see like charging those prices to have the character name. Like you can just pay for the character name here, but to have to pay for a character name and for a quote, it's a little much.
I definitely agree. And there's some people that I have to say there's a few people from the Lost Boys, Corey Feldman being a big one, and then Jason Patrick being another one. Two people that just way overcharge for their autograph. I'm just like, man, Corey Feldman really still thinks he's the shit, and it's like, I don't know. As a fan, I'm still willing to pay for autographs and go to conventions, but it's like, I just see people like Corey Feldman, and I hate to say it, but the dude, he's just fucking douchey. He's just so fucking douchey. I can't just imagine paying that dude $100 to sign something. I just can't. You know what I mean? Like, and Jason Patrick, it's like, yeah, again, it's like, okay, you're Michael from the Lost Boys, but I don't know. Like I said, it's becoming severe exploitation at this point of people's fandom and wallets. But before we get too far into the grind of ripping celebrities' names up,
I feel like we've shit on conventions enough.
let's get into our review of Salem's Lot 2024. The story, Stephen King's Salem's Lot, came as a follow-up to the short story Jerusalem's Lot in the short story book Night Shift, which I love. It's one of my absolute favorite books by King. I wouldn't say Jerusalem's Lot gave me nightmares, but I certainly lost sleep over it. It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of Salem's Lot, both the novel and the original 1979 Tobe Hooper miniseries. I still firmly believe that Salem's Lot is the scariest vampire movie ever made. It has atmosphere and visuals that burn themselves into my brain as a child watching it. The Mrs. Glick scene in the morgue fucking tormented me. I slept with the lights on. The miniseries very much stamped into my brain what vampires are supposed to be at an early age. Got me. What's interesting is that the actual book Salem's Lot was much more of a classic vampire tale than the miniseries depicted. Barlow was a handsome vampire with a classic cape like Dracula. He wasn't this blue Nosferatu-looking son of a bitch. So the miniseries is scarier than the novel in some areas. And then in 2004, we got the Rob Lowe Salem's Lot, which tried to tell the tale in an updated fashion, and it just didn't work. It didn't stick. So personally, I'm surprised that this new remake didn't try to go the route of following the book and being more of a classic vampire tale and to look for Barlow. They did, however, make the crosses glow, which is book accurate, but I wanted to see the movie since it was announced back in 2019. Gary Doberman had just knocked it out of the fucking park with his directorial debut, Annabelle Comes Home, so there was a sense of hype for me at first. Principal casting was finalized in 2021, with Pullman chosen to portray Ben Mears. Knowledge nug, Pullman said that he had read Salem's Lot in high school and had reread the book after he had gotten the role of Ben Mears. Filming began in Boston in September of 2021 with Massachusetts locations such as Ipswich, Sterling, and Clinton bringing Jerusalem's Lot to life. Additional photography took place in mid-2022, and the score was composed by Nathan Barr and Elizabeth Scott. Doberman edited the film from an initial 3-hour cut, removing an extended opening scene set in the Marsden house. It was filmed and then shelved, and then got told there'd be a theatrical release, and then things went quiet again. Then it pops up this year as a Max exclusive with nearly no advertising.
Yeah, it was weird. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yep, initially slated for theatrical release on September 9th, 2022. The film faced multiple delays due to post-production setbacks attributed to COVID-19 and scheduling conflicts. As Warner Brothers Discovery underwent reconstructing. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. As Warner Brothers Discovery underwent restructuring in 2022, there were fears that Salem's Lot would be scrapped, as had happened with other projects. But it ultimately moved forward. Amid the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike, Warner Brothers considered releasing it directly to Max due to increased demand for streaming content. In March of 2024, Warner Brothers confirmed that Salem's Lot would premiere on Max with an October release date. The film premiered as the opening feature at Beyond Fest on September 25th, 2024, and released on Max on October 3rd ahead of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, thereby avoiding a split horror audience. It received mixed critical reviews. In the UK and Ireland, where Max is unavailable due to existing rights agreements, Salem's Lot was released theatrically on October 11th, 2024. John, walk us through the familiar plot of Salem's Lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's probably a smart move just to put it on streaming, because if it went up against Edgar's Nosferatu, not that we've got to see it, I
don't think many people would have seen Salem's Lot in comparison.
If you tell me, hey, you can only go see one movie, you want to go see Salem's Lot remake, or do you want to go see Robert Eggers' Nosferatu? I'm seeing Nosferatu.
Especially, to be honest with you, I'm a big Salem's Lot fan. So my whole thing was, if there was hesitation, that I might want to see Salem's Lot more. As soon as I saw that Salem's Lot was less than 2 hours, when I saw it was like an hour and 53 minutes or an hour and 57 minutes, I would have went, I'm going to go with Nosferatu. The timestamp alone tells me what I need to know.
God, I can't wait for Nosferatu. But anyway, let's get back to Salem's Lot. It's a 2024 American supernatural horror film written and directed by Gary Dauberman, based on Stephen King's 1975 novel. This adaptation is the first feature-length film version of the story. The plot follows writer Ben Mears, who returns to his childhood home of Jerusalem's Lot, seeking inspiration, only to find the town besieged by a powerful vampire. In adapting the novel, Dauberman tended to remain true to the story while crafting a cinematic experience similar with his approach to both It Chapter 1 and 2 in 2017 and 2019 respectively. And Lewis Pullman plays Ben Mears, and the story centers around him coming back to Jerusalem's Lot to confront memories from his past and find inspiration for his new novel. Upon arrival, he reconnects with Susan Norden, played by Mackenzie Lee, a local woman with dreams of leaving her oppressive hometown, complicated further by her overbearing mother Anne, played by Deborah Christopherson. As Ben settles in, he bonds with a middle schooler named Mark Petrie, played by Jordan Preston Carter, who is facing trouble with school bullies, and local teacher Matthew Burke, played by Bill Camp, who becomes an unexpected ally. A strange new figure, Richard Stracker, played by, try to say this last name, Palu Azarbeck? That's what I'm going to go with. I never know how to pronounce that A. It melts into the E.
I agree, yeah.
I don't know the pronunciation. We're not linguists, as you can guess from listening to our podcast. Anyway, he arrives in town to open an antique store and takes up residence in the abandoned Marston house, infamous for its dark history. Stracker's mysterious presence and his large coffin brought into the house under suspicious circumstances cause unease among the locals. You know, how many vampire movies, it's just weird how everybody in these towns, when they see coffins get moved in, they're just like, well, that's kind of fucking weird, but I don't see anything too weird about
don't bother
it.
the neighbor.
Hey, maybe they're just eccentric. Nobody, ever just... They're just like, well, that's weird.
Some Lisa Marie Presley shit. Did you hear about that?
No.
Pause. Hold on a second. I'm gonna pause you where you're at real quick.
Okay.
Lisa Marie Presley released a memoir. Now, even if she's dead, a memoir had been released that she had written. Her son had died. She kept her son's body in her house 23 days after he had died, for 3 months after he had died, just keeping him on dry ice because she wasn't ready to let him go.
What the fuck?
That's some real shit. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I guess people, don't mind that coffin. They're just going to Lisa Marie Presley it.
Anyway, shortly after, young Ralph Glick, played by Cade Woodward, a friend of Mark's, goes missing. Kidnapped by Stracker, uses an offering to his master, the vampire Kurt Barlow, played by Alexander Ward. Barlow just sounds like a badass name.
It does.
The townspeople soon grow suspicious of Ben, especially after Ralph's brother, Danny Glick, played by Nicholas Cravetti, falls ill and dies of a sudden case of anemia. However, Danny returns from the dead as a vampire, rising from his coffin to bite Mike Ryerson, played by Spencer Treat Clark. They really named their kid Treat. I'm sorry, is that a middle? I assume it's a middle name. It's still weird. It is. Anyway. Mike Ryerson, the gravedigger. Matt Burke encounters a sickly Mike in the bar. Suspected something strange, he invites him to stay over. After witnessing Danny flying through his window, Matt realizes the supernatural horror that has taken over the town and informs Ben and Susan. Together they consult Dr. Cody, played by Alfred Woodward, and Sheriff Parkins Gillespie. That's obviously it's a fake one, but who the fuck names their kid Parkins? Sounds too close to Parkinson's. Anyway. You all right over there?
I'm good, dude. Just keep going.
So Parkinson's is played by William Sadler. Though,
I love William Sadler, though. I do love William Sadler.
Oh, yeah, he's a great actor. And he does not have Parkinson's. Though both initially doubt the growing rumors of the vampires, soon Dr. Cody notices odd symptoms on Mike, confirming Matt's fears. As Danny attempts to lure Mark into allowing him into his home, Mark fends him off and begins researching vampire lore. He shares his findings with Ben, Matt, Dr. Cody, and Father Callahan, played by John Benjamin Hickey, the town's priest. The group decides to confront the evil, breaking into the Marston house to destroy Barlow. They encounter a transformed Matt in the basement who attacks them, but Ben ultimately kills him with a wooden stake. Meanwhile, Barlow's vampire curse begins to spread, overtaking the town. Sheriff Gillespie tries to flee. Ben and Susan attempt to warn Anne, and to their horror, Anna reveals that she has become Stracker's accomplice.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. I guess we should have probably went with the dun 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 before. Spoiler, and then dun dun dun. And Susan is bitten. Father Callahan, while attempting to warn Mark's family, witnesses the vampiric takeover and is ambushed by Barlow's forces. Ben tries to save a partially turned Susan, taking her to the church. When Dr. Cody cannot stop her transformation, Susan finally turns and flees. Amid a violent crash with the undead residents, Ben and Dr. Cody retreat to the church. Gillespie's coursed. Have you ever had experience with coursed? Gillespie's corpse is tossed in as a warning by the vampires. Vampires love chucking bodies.
Yeah, they do.
Mark me... Just observation. Usually like one-handed, too. Mark, meanwhile, locates Barlow's hideout at Stracker's store, where he kills Danny. Realizing Barlow's forces have made the drive-in theater their lair, using cars as coffins, the group makes a final stand. I thought that was a pretty badass scene. As they prepare to destroy Susan, Dr. Cody is shot by Anne. Mark destroys the theater screen, allowing the sunlight to pour in and incinerate the vampires. As night falls, Barlow attacks Mark, but Ben intervenes, killing Barlow with a stake and ultimately freeing Mark. With Jerusalem's lot overrun and its residents turned or dead, Ben and Mark drive out of town, leaving behind the cursed ruins and the shadows of the past. Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so I'll start by saying this is not going to be a positive review for me.
It has not got many positive reviews.
I would have rather them omit story elements or characters than try to actually cram it all in like this. They took 15 pounds of shit and tried to make it fit in a 5-pound bag. It's completely forgettable. It's shot smoothly and it looks great, but there is no character development. It has this go, go, go pace that just rushes the story without a chance to breathe. It tries to cover a lot of ground and not a lot of time. I would love to see the 3-hour cut, but I have to go off of what the final product given is. And I don't mind the attempt at different character arcs and the updates to the story and characters, but none of it made any difference because there's no real connection to the characters. It's all wasted. And I hate that Barlow looks like a Blade villain. Not he, nor any of the other vampires, nor the movie itself is creepy or scary at all. And like I said, the original to me is the scariest vampire movie of all time. So that's a big flop for me.
Is it Vampire in Brooklyn?
This one has no heart and soul. It's completely hollow. It's the same familiar story without the scares and without the thrills, so it's not really worth the ride at all. In comparison to the original, it's like watching Rob Zombie's Halloween over the original. I think not. I don't see what this movie added that would need me to ever choose it over the original. If I'm in the mood to watch Salem's Lot, I'm going to watch the real Salem's Lot. Something about those Stephen King miniseries like this and it, they just slap for some reason. I won't be revisiting this movie, though, unless we get the 3-hour cut. My final verdict for this film, Salem's Lot 2024, is a 4 out of 10. I hate to be totally negative, but I have standards for this story, and this adaptation did not meet them at all. Go back and watch the original scene with Mrs. Glick in the morgue, like I mentioned earlier, and go back and watch this version of that scene, and tell me how that hour missing is why this movie sucks. It's just bad decision making. That hour being cut doesn't help, but it's not the only reason this movie didn't get good reviews.
I enjoyed it.
Interesting.
I mean, it has received mixed reviews, both critics, and I think audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes are a little bit lower. I mean, it's a straight vampire, straightforward, like you said. Unlike previous adaptations that lean more heavily on like character depth and emotional weight, this just felt like a vampire thriller.
Yeah.
And it focused on delivering suspense and chills without much of heart or complexity. I thought the creature design was solid. The visual effects were well executed. You kind of got that eerie, unsettling feel of a town falling under vampire spells. I loved the drive-in scene.
Probably the best part of the movie.
I was going to say, was there anything you did like about it?
That was probably the best part of the movie, yeah. I didn't think the vampires looked scarier, though. Like, there's just...
That's fair.
I just, if you compare the Danny Glick scene at the window... It's like, man, like it's one of those things where it's like, how, like, I just feel like everything was too stylized. The thing about the other movies, those motherfuckers look dead, and so I just didn't feel it was, but I did like the drive-in scene. That was probably my favorite scene. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the burning, like, it's the end of the movie. We already spoiled it, but like, just when the sunlight comes through at the drive-in.
Yeah.
Shit, where was I in my notes here? It's one I feel like I could just throw on and put on in the background and still enjoy, because compared to the other ones, it's, like I said, straightforward. You can kind of dip in and out of it. You're not really missing too much. I'd give it like a 6.7 or 6.8 out of 10.
Okay, so you liked that a lot more than I did.
I mean, maybe I'll like, especially if we get the 3-hour one, I feel like I'd like it more. I feel like it's just it's more of a fun vampire take on it than, it doesn't match the emotional level of the predecessors, but I enjoyed it.
So, that's fair. So we have two totally separate reviews here. We got a 6.8.
I would say I didn't give it a super favorable review. I didn't put it 7 or higher, but it's around. And I just, like I said, I feel like it's just a movie I can. Oh, I'm doing something else. I just want background noise. I can just throw it on. See,
it's funny because like I get that, but like to me, it's more like it's kind of like The Exorcist, where like when I think, do I want to watch Salem's Lot, I initially go and my initial thought, like it's like word association. When you say Salem's Lot, I go ew, because I think of the vampires in it. So like when I think Salem's Lot, I think that. So like for me to watch this movie and then go, that's Salem's Lot and word association, I'm like, it don't match. Like it doesn't come up for me. Like the math don't math for me with that. It's just
the math don't math.
It's not as scary as it should have been. But I definitely respect your opinion. I like that one of us at least enjoyed it. So that's why we have a podcast, right? I mean, hey, I loved Prey. I still don't know why you didn't like Prey.
Yeah.
I thought when you were hating on Prey, you were review bombing it because I'm a Predator fan, and I was like, this dude really fucking hated Prey. What the fuck?
Yeah.
We liked Romulus though, so that works.
Oh, I was gonna say, what was the movie Josh hated?
Hellraiser.
Gave it a 3.3 out of 10.
That's the biggest load of shit. That was a good fucking movie, man. Hellraiser was solid. But I will agree, it did steal a lot from 13 Ghosts.
Also, though, are we getting a sequel to that?
Supposedly,
I remember hearing that. But there's all kinds of horror projects that get canceled. So
we'll find out when we find out. And by the time another one's made. They'll go back to making Hellraiser a guy, Pinhead a guy, and it'll be like
Doug Bradley
a new
will be
writer and
back.
a new reboot. It won't be a sequel, so we'll see what happens. So,
It'll ignore every other film except the first one.
so real quick, while we're on Hellraiser, though, I do want to say this. So I'm putting myself through utter torment right now, and I don't know why. So I you know that like you got to go through all the series as a fan. So you know I've done them all. We've talked before about how I've watched all the Hellraiser movies and like you know like all the ones I didn't see before that one summer years ago, and then you watched them and you said you barely got through 3 before you almost tapped out. Like,
Well, the thing is, 3, if anybody's not too familiar with the series, 3 is kind of a split movie, kind of like, I guess, Alien 3, too, where, like, some people really like it.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, oh, maybe I won't like it. But, like, I felt like it was absolutely fucking terrible.
I agree, it was
And I'm
bad.
like, if this is a movie that people are divided on, how bad does it get? But I've seen stuff, and it's funny. I thought about recently, I'm like, do I just finally bite the bullet and just get through the Hellraiser series?
so well, wait, I got one. I'm one upping that. For some reason, it just dawned on me. I'm like, you know what? I'm 37 years old. I've been through them all before, but one series that I never completed. And you're going to say, but why did you need to? And I'm going to ask myself the same thing and say, I don't know, but I'm doing it anyway. Children of the Corn. So I couldn't, bro. So,
Oh,
okay,
man.
so here's the thing.
That's got to be worse than Hellraiser, right?
It's so bad. So they only have up to 6 on Shudder, and there's more.
Is that the
after
Children
that.
of the Corn 666?
Yes, there's more after that. Like there was like obviously the more recent reboot and shit like that. And I'm sure there's other ones. I'm so far behind on Children of the Corn because who gives a fuck? That's just not something I'm knowledgeable on. I don't think anybody is. I don't know any horror fan that I can be like, yo, tell me all the shit you know about Children of the Corn. And it's gonna I'm not really gonna extend past the first film. But I'm on 4 now, and I have about 15 minutes left. And dear God, it is like holy.
It's funny you
how
bring up
the
4.
fuck do we get to 6? And how is there more than that? Like, I'm really thinking. I'm like after 2, I thought, okay, it's a big droop every time. 2 was like, it was bad, it was stupid, a lot of questionable things. But you know what? It was a bad 90s movie that I'd probably put on in the background. It's fine. It fits right in with a couple other movies I could watch. Then 3 was like, oh, man, this is getting bad. And then 4, the one I'm watching now, I'm just like, what the fuck? So, real quick, there's these fucking kids, these Children of the Corn that are in this doctor's office with this doctor, and they're tormenting him. They're chasing him around and blah, blah, blah. There's a fucking stretcher. I got like a legit stretcher, just like with nobody on it, just like we're like following the doctor around on its wheels, like rolling after him. He like runs to a dead end at the door won't open. He turns around, the stretcher's rolling towards him. It fucking like protrudes a blade from the end of it and then cuts him in half. And I'm like, what the fuck stretcher in the world exists? Like, there's no stretcher with a blade that comes out of it. They're just making shit up now. It's so bad. It's so bad. I'm thinking, I'm like, do I continue and get to 6? And I'm like, I'm
Dude, you're already two-thirds of the way there.
I'm 15 minutes away from finishing 4. I guess I gotta go in now. And then in part 6, they bring back Malachi.
Oh, nice.
You know, so I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to check this out, man.
It's funny you bring up 4. It's a weird childhood memory. I remember one time I was in like elementary school or some shit. My dad had he had a VCR, so like we would record stuff off TV. And I remember I was going to like get ready for school. It was a Sunday night. I don't know why I remember all this in detail. Like I was going to go take a bath, get ready, and I remember seeing Children of the Corn 4 was going to be on. I asked my dad if he could record it for me. I don't know if my dad had ever saw it. He was, how about we watch that another time it comes on? And I'm like, he's now looking back. I'm like, had he seen it? It was like, I'm not sitting through this to record this for the fucking kid.
Well, I could say that it wasn't because it was super gory and there's not nudity or sex in it. So
if he saw it, he just knew it was ass, and he was like, I don't want to sit through this.
He definitely knew it was ass. It wasn't because it was something inappropriate he was trying to shield you from. He just was trying to save himself an hour and 25
I
minutes
happened
of
to
his
sit
life.
in the living room, like with the family TV on it, so he could record it. Because I don't know if you ever recorded a lot off TV as a kid.
Of course.
You had to have People for the children out there, it might not. Well, if you're children, you shouldn't be listening. But anyway, yeah, you would have to actually watch the channel while you were recording.
Yep.
It wasn't this DVR shit that you just like, oh, I want to record that.
Bro, I remember.
So my dad was just like, I'm not sitting. Even if he hadn't seen it, I feel like his thought process was, I'm not sitting through Children in the Corn fucking 4.
I remember John Landis's Innocent Blood. He's the director of American Werewolf in London. He also did a vampire movie
he also
called
killed
Innocent
people.
Blood. Yes, of course, yeah. And I remember wanting to see Innocent Blood so bad, but I wasn't allowed to see it because like there was nudity in it. It's about this vampire that's like a prostitute. And but I was like, it's fucking John Landis though. So I remember I took goddamn, I think it was The Lion King 2, which who gives a shit about The Lion King 2 anyway? I took The Lion
some people
King
do
2,
like that shit.
and I put a piece of Scotch tape over the tab, and I used The Lion King 2 to record over The Lion King 2 and recorded Innocent Blood. And I remember Innocent Blood actually cut off and didn't record the whole thing, but I got it and I put it on the shelf, and no one ever fucking knew it was Innocent Blood for the longest time. So I got away with that because nobody fucking watched The Lion King 2. But
Apparently
anyway.
not in your house.
Anyway, all right, well, let's wrap this up.
I think we're done rambling.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks to all the horror hounds and smokers out there for tuning in. If you like this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. And next week we'll be reviewing Don't Move. So in the meantime, do your homework. Check it out on Netflix. And follow us online, High on Horror 420, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I think that's all.
Threads?
Threads? I don't think we have a Threads.
No, I don't think
you want to
so.
talk to us on Threads? I guess, maybe.
Let us know and we'll make an account.
Or we're going to say probably not. Send us an email, highonhorror420@gmail.com. Check out our website, highonhorror.com. This fucking weed's getting to me. It's fucking late too. But I guess that'll about wrap her up. Catch you later.
See y'all next week.